Hello and welcome to Allegedly Speaking. This is Allegedly Dave, and again in these series of shows I'm going to be shining a spotlight on various aspects of the dream world that we believe to be real. Now, in a couple of my talks I've mentioned and briefly spoken about urine therapy, and there's a lot of misconceptions about urine therapy, and I hope to be clearing that up tonight. I have a guest on later on. His name is Andrew Norton Webber. Now, I got introduced to urine therapy about a year and a half. It's getting close to 2 years now. I went to a festival called the Truth Juice Festival, and we went along to a talk. I was with a group of about 4 other people, and we went along to a talk about alternative therapy, but it was going to be concentrated on urine therapy. Now, I walked in along with my friends, arms folded, thinking, tell us all about it, wee lady. And so, we were extremely sceptical. But after listening to her talk, we walked out thinking, you know what, we're going to have to try this. And all 5 of us felt exactly the same. So yeah, we decided we are going to have to try this. Literally, all of us tried it. And as far as I know, we're all still taking it nearly 2 years later. For us to be doing that, I'm quite a coward as far as things like this are concerned. There has to be benefits. There has to be a benefit for people like me to continue taking this day after day. And there certainly are. The very first time I drank my own urine, I had a massive rush of energy and a feeling of well-being. I was on my way to work. I literally said good morning to people for the first time. You work in London, you don't make eye contact with people, but I was bounding along the road talking to people and saying good morning to them. I just felt so good. And along the way I started finding health benefits, many health benefits. Part of urine therapy is washing yourself in it, and so you massage the urine into your skin. It's not like washing yourself with water. Water, you just push around the surface and then you have to towel it off. When you wash yourself in your urine is absorbed into your skin, and you almost immediately feel that your skin feels more alive. It tingles, and it brings back the elasticity in the skin, I found. Now, I'm not going to say too much about the benefits. I'm hoping we'll get through them when I speak with my guest. But I was prompted, in part by my guest actually, to embark on a 30-day urine fast. The rationale behind it was I wanted to prove that somebody can actually live on urine for at least 30 days. So, I guess quite rashly, I embarked on this without drinking any water or eating any food. Now, if you were going on a urine fast, you would drink water, and that water would be distilled water as well. But for the purposes of my experiment, I didn't drink any water or eat any food. Part of me kind of expected that I'd be crawling on the floor towards the fridge every day. But surprisingly, after the first 3 or 4 days, the habit of eating subsided. It's the habit of going to the fridge, going to the kitchen and fixing yourself a snack that was a difficult part to break. I'd find myself standing in front of the fridge, thinking, oh, how did I get here? What am I doing here? But I say, after about 3 days, that subsided. And I found that my appetite was non-existent. I didn't feel like I needed to eat. Again, hopefully we're going to go into why that is later on. But the point is, after 30 days, not only did I survive, I'm still here. Not only did I survive, but I actually ended up curing things that I'd even forgotten about. I had nerve damage in my foot from an Achilles tendon operation. Now, this had been with me for maybe 3 years. It was a painful pins and needles. And say if I walked 100 yards, I'd probably feel the sting of this pain maybe 10 times in 100 yards. But since it was always with me, it kind of faded into the background. So it happened to me, but I ignored it because, it's just that. To the point where I'd forgotten about it totally. It just became a part of me. 4 or 5 days into this fast, I realised that it was gone, as well as the pain associated with the actual Achilles tendon operation. I've got a large scar along the back of my heel, which came along with a dull ache that I, again, 4 or 5 days into the fast, I realised wasn't there. There are many more benefits, such as my lungs regenerating. I found I was able to run half a mile at top speed, pretty much, and I wasn't out of breath at the end of it. It was quite amazing. I found that the lines on my face had smoothed over, and my hair had started to grow back. The colour of my hair, I had sort of grey patches in my beard, and they pretty much turned into a kind of salt and peppery aspect now. So the colour's coming back. Some very amazing things happened, and again, we'll go into that later on. It's a very, let's put it this way, many people will feel that the idea of urine therapy is abhorrent. In fact, just before I went on, I was on Facebook, and somebody called Chris basically asked if I was mad, and he thinks that urine therapy is aesthetically unappealing. Now, that's an interesting point of view. I drank my own urine for 30 days, and I came out of it fitter than I was before I started. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever seen a film called Super Size Me, where a chap, I think his name is Morgan Spurlock, he was fit and well before he started his experiment, and that experiment was to only eat McDonald's food for 30 days. So he started off in the best shape of his life, and he only ate McDonald's for 30 days. Now, McDonald's is, some might disagree, but McDonald's is aesthetically pleasing. It's nicely packaged, it's very tasty. But after the 30 days, he found he was in trouble medically. He had liver damage. I can't remember all the whole raft of things that was wrong with him, but he was consuming something that was, classically, or as far as this construct that we live in, he was having something that was aesthetically pleasing and appealing, and it was making him sick. And yet I had something for 30 days that isn't so aesthetically pleasing as far as this society is concerned, and yet it cured me, it healed me. So you can keep your aesthetics, your skewed sense of aesthetics. Now, I'm not going to carry on talking for too much longer, so I'd like to bring in my guest. My guest is Andrew Norton Webber. He's an independent researcher and lecturer. So, Andrew.
Dave.
Hi there. You okay?
Hey, buddy. Yes, sir. Great.
So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm 42 years old. I live in South Carolina in the United States. And started a journey about 10 years back into health. And I was moved from being a carnivore to trying to be a vegetarian because my stepdaughter demanded it. And so we moved to stir fries and rice, and I heard about raw foods and learned about fluoride, and we cut the city water off and dug a well, and I had a yogi over to my house and asked him for 2 hours to educate me about raw foods and herbs and crystals and all kinds of things. And I was all out of questions. And he just kind of finally, out of the blue, goes, you know, if you drink your own urine, you can cure just about anything. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, look up urine therapy. And that was the first time in my life I'd ever heard that term. And that is what started what has led to where we are right now in this moment. And I went on a journey of 5 years of study, 20 urine books from around the world. I read over 1,000 case studies. And I experimented, and my friends did, with what was in the books. And everything worked exactly the way the book said it would. Just as what you experienced on your fast is identical to all of the case studies I've read. And so I knew it was true, but I couldn't figure out how it was true. The books didn't really give the scientific how, and I guess being a Western-raised person, I was curious. The books would say, you know, it's a gift from God, or it induces a healing reaction, which are both true. Yeah, but I couldn't quite. Most I could figure out on my own. I said maybe it's the ammonia that's melting arthritis and dissolving cataracts and taking a hand that's frozen up with arthritis and allowing it to move young again and free again. How that if somebody had a splinter, you could just put a urine-soaked bandage on it, and the next day you would find the splinter in the bandage. And how it would whiten teeth. And I haven't used toothpaste for 2 years now, and my teeth are whiter than they've ever been. They'd gotten pretty yellow from the fluoridation. So,
what could I ask? What sort of benefits did you personally see?
Whiter teeth. I've had severe, that nasty toenail fungus that they try to prescribe Lamisil for. And that has started. I have pink nail growth now, where for 20 years I've had pure, horrifying, brownish yellow, crumbling toenails that made me embarrassed to go. I could not go into public with sandals on because nobody would want to sit next to such monstrous toes at a cafe. So I always wore shoes, and I still do because it's still pushing out. But for 20 years, the yellow-brown stuff had been right up against the matrix. But now it's pushed out, maybe roughly halfway out. There's brand new pink nail growth, and I'd never taken one single dose of Lamisil. Mm-hmm. My intuition and clarity of mind has gone off the charts compared to what I used to know. I suffered severe ADD type symptoms. Could never study in school. I couldn't handle the horrors of black and white text. And one thing that probably helped me with the urine therapy books is the testimonials in there are always these little short paragraphs, but they're riveting. Just like the very few words that you use to describe your fast are things you've not ever heard of and are not supposed to be possible in Western medicine. And so it's, you're on the edge of your seat, like, what? And so that kept an ADD type person able to read all these 1,000 testimonials because there are all these short little bursts of stories. So my clarity of thinking has gone much, much stronger. What else? My skin is always kind of soft and supple and a little bit dewy. Kind of has a moist sheen to it. Mm-hmm. Whereas most of my classmates have quite a few gray hairs and or balding. I've had none of that. Although I think my wife said she noticed 2 gray hairs somewhere on my head the other day. But I didn't really have too many serious health issues to have anything to really defeat. I think the toenails was the worst part, and I've even put a video on the internet on my Facebook wall showing brand new pink nail growth. I kept trying to figure out how the urine was doing this, and I stumbled across Hilton Hotema's book called Man's Higher Consciousness, which is a fantastic read of this man who, and Hotema spelled Hotema. He had spent 30 years of his life traveling the sites of the ancient mystery schools, trying to piece back together all the ancient knowledge, and he had one little section in his book called Rainwater and Distilled Water Are Safe. And at the time, I was fooled by the propaganda that's out there that says it will kill you. And specifically, if you Google distilled water, there's always an article titled "Early Death Comes from Drinking Distilled Water," and it's not by accident. It's always on the first page of Google hits. Oftentimes, it's the #1 listing, and this is because pure water is a no-brainer once you realize that pure water and distilled water are two terms for the exact same thing. Most people don't have a problem when you ask them, is pure water safe to drink? They kind of look at you like you're stupid for even asking the question. But you get quite the opposite response when you go around just randomly asking people, pretend you know anything about it, and say, is distilled water safe to drink? And the most common response you'll hear is, oh, no, don't drink it. It'll leach minerals from the body. So I was fooled by that at the time, and even though I was practicing urine therapy, we were living on well water, and I thought we were doing pretty good with that.
Can I, if I stop you there?
Sure.
Now, you say that the powers that be or the establishment will say that that distilled water, yes, powers that were, that distilled water is bad for you. Could you explain why it isn't?
Why it isn't?
Yeah, why it isn't bad for us?
Well, when you see the early death article, there's 4 main ruses that they choose to use, and the main one is that it will leach minerals from the body. This is an on-purpose half-truth where they leave out the known fact that there are 2 types of minerals, organic and inorganic, basically living and dead, and they just lead you to assume that they're talking about both, and they don't really even need to do that because most people don't even know that there's a distinction. Most people think when they buy fancy spring water that says it proudly lists like Perrier or Pellegrino or Poland spring water, it lists on the side all these calcium, magnesium, potassium, and Pellegrino is at 900 parts per million by their own label, and they're proud about it, but they purposely don't list the full chemical title of those minerals because they would have to list them as inorganic calcium, inorganic potassium, and so on. And the vast importance of that is that the body cannot assimilate inorganic minerals. The body can only use living organic minerals, which are found in live fruits and vegetables, and so they just they lead people to believe, for instance, that it might leach the calcium out of your bones and you'll literally crumple to the floor. It'll leach all the potassium out of your blood system and you'll have a heart attack. And this is just sheer bull because water, because of the one simple rule in electricity that we all know about, and that common term that opposites attract. Mm-hmm. Well, distilled water, the natural state of a pure water molecule, is to overall have a negative electrical charge. And the beauty of that is the reason you're a water-based creature is that all objects that are foreign and deadly to the body have a positive electrical charge, and distilled water magnetically latches onto them and rips them out of your body and allows your excretory system to eject them. Everything that's living and supposed to be inside you has a negative electrical charge, and it is physically, scientifically, magnetically impossible for pure water to leach living minerals out of your body. But this is the main ruse that they use, and it is largely promoted. When you find that article, it is hosted by Dr. Mercola, who is a massive angel of death, an agent of deception. He works for the UN and the WHO, who have a depopulation program in place, and they're trying to kill you. They hate you and they want you gone. And They post this stuff because it is the number one most important thing to keep from everybody. This is everybody's power source, is the remembrance of the knowledge of the effect of pure water on the body, as your fast blatantly should. You're not supposed to grow your hair back. You're not supposed to, especially not brand new hair. You're not supposed to get rid of asthma after 40 years of steroid inhalers. Almost everybody who gets on any prescription or medication, they're on it for life. And now you've tossed your steroid inhalers. This is impossible according to Western medicine, and it looks like it's miraculous, but it's not a miracle at all. It's just the way that water works, and it is why they have removed this one key important piece of knowledge from the medical establishment. It's not doctors' fault. It's the Carnegies Mellons and the Rockefellers that control the purse strings of the university. If you don't teach the party line, your funding gets pulled. Right. And what we've learned, what I finally figured out, was that it was the distilled water aspect of urine that was finally responsible. That's what was magnetically drawing the garbage out of the teeth and turning them white. That's what was magnetically drawing the splinter out of the wound. That's what was magnetically ripping out all the pieces of arthritis and magnetically ripping out all the plaque in people's veins.
So that all that is the inorganic minerals.
Yes. All things that are dead, dull, and not shiny and deadly to the human body. That's what water rips out. And it almost seems magical because it's just almost a black and white line. Whatever is good for you, pure water does not touch, and whatever is harmful to you, pure water says, get out. But what you're looking at in society is basically machines that have never had the lubricant changed. You know, if you bought a new car and were to drive it off the lot and never change the oil, you know, you're supposed to change it every 3,000 miles. And you could, I think it'd be fair to say you could probably go 20,000 miles at best before the engine completely melted down and seized up, right? But anyone that follows the original cleaning and maintenance instructions for the car knows it can easily last 200,000 miles. Any car can do that if you treat it right. And so that's a life. That's a 10% of the actual life. If it dies at 20,000 because you don't change the lubricant in it, it lives only 1/10 of its life. And this is what we're seeing in people that are dying at 60 to 70 years old now. When anybody who believes in the Bible word for word, they have a problem when you get to Moses and Noah living for 600 and 900 years old. Well, let's just take Moses at 600 years old versus today's people that live to 60. That right there is the exact same correlation. That is 10% of the actual lifespan, and it's because the machine is being run without ever having the internal fluid cleansed out. That's what all this decrepitude you're witnessing, people with horrifying scabs on their legs and super obese and pale, scaly, flaking skin and dying and death and amnesia and Alzheimer's. And I mean, even when I was a kid, people lived to 80 or 90 with their faculties intact. Now, 50, 60, and 70, they're losing their minds. And it's just from sheer toxic overload.
I was just about to say that. It's not just the not changing the oil. It's the fact that we're poisoning ourselves with all this stuff. And now we've got somebody in the chat box basically says, so it's not the pee, it's the water. No, I'll just chirp in there and say that the water is one factor. The pee is has other things in it that are beneficial to you. And again, I guess we'll cover that. Jim,
well, let's cover that right now.
Okay, go ahead.
It is truly the water because anybody that goes on these fasts, I'd be interested to see what you experience. Generally, 3 to 5 days out, the urine starts to become clear, and it's not the ingredients in the urine; it's the cycling of the pure water. And people who don't even touch, I've got 3 70 to 80-year-olds right here in Columbia, South Carolina, who have all had shock white hair for 2 decades. Now they haven't even touched urine at all. They're drinking pure distilled water, a gallon a day, and you have to do that. That's one of the, you have to remember two things, and if nothing else from this whole interview, it's that pure waters are the cleaner for the human body, but the method, equally important, is a volume of a gallon and or what you call 4 liters a day. I get testimonials from around the world on a daily basis, and they are never from people doing a quart to half a gallon. They are from people doing a gallon, sometimes just under, but almost always a gallon to a gallon and a half. And these 3 people in Colombia here are doing that, and all of them, their hair is turning back to their original color. Their hair is turning from white to gray, and exactly as you said, salt and peppered. They're in the transition to going back to full black hair, full brown hair, whatever their hair color was. And, it looks gray and white, and even sometimes my friend will come, look, Andrew, look, and he'll part his hair, and there's totally brand new hair that are pure black. And that's without touching a drop of urine. So it really is the water aspect of it. And when we are constantly eating cooked food, this is what creates the colors and the awful smells in urine. You can go on, if you just pound distilled water for 3 days in a row, just start peeing in a glass rather than peeing in the toilet. Even if you're not going to drink it, just look at it. You'll notice that it gets lighter and lighter. And the taste reflects with the color. It becomes easy to drink. It actually goes from, and this is proven in testimonial after testimonial I get, it goes from revulsion to, I can't believe this is so awesome, and I can't believe that I'm like a walking coconut-flavored soda fountain. Because when you return to a fully clean state, when you have completely ejected all garbage, the true state of the human body is a sweet smell, and the urine has a slightly sweet, slightly coconut-flavored water. And it becomes softer than any water that you can conceive. It's a gift waiting for you that you have no idea about. One of the first things you notice when you buy some distilled water is that it's smooth and that it kind of has this airy feeling. Your body creates distilled water that goes beyond that to what people start to describe fluffy. And the reason the reason it's called distilled water is because when you've removed all objects, all the negative charge pushing out spherically. If you could imagine when you try to put 2 magnets together, when you have the same 2 sides, it's like in this invisible force field, and they don't want to really push up against each other. Well, now you've got all these spherical shaped magnets called the water molecule, and they're all radiating in all directions the same electrical charge. And so they're all pushing away from each other. So it makes this kind of expanded water, and that's what creates this fluffy airiness to it. And the more and more distilled it gets incredibly softer and softer. And you just can't believe it. And so the distilled, it's in the meaning of the name. Distilled means the more objects that water has in it besides hydrogen and oxygen, the slower, the stiller it becomes. When you remove those objects, they're like slippery molecules that are free to move about the cabin, and they just rock and roll and slide through your body. They slide right down your throat. Sometimes if you're thirsty and you want to drink a lot of water, it just doesn't seem to go down. Well, it's because there's invisible rocks and sand in it. Those 900 to 500, 100 parts per million is pure garbage. The only thing that sticks to water is garbage, things that are death to the human body. And so whenever you hear people say, yeah, but I like the taste of my spring water, that alone should be a clue that there's something wrong, because water's not supposed to have a taste. The taste is coming from the garbage that's in it, unless you're talking about fruit juices or vegetable juices. Those are also one of the distilled waters. And of course, that is still a distilled water because they all have a negative charge. That's what creates the distilled quality about it, that it's not still, that it's free-flowing and free-moving. And when you drink it, it just goes on a seek and destroy mission throughout your body, looking for things of the opposite charge to stick to. They want to get away from each other. That's what's creating the fluffy airiness in the water.
Right. I'm going to answer a couple of questions I've got in the chat box. Poundland asks, why does urine smell? Well, the truth is, fresh urine doesn't actually smell. The smell that you associate with it is where the urine has been exposed to the air for a while, and it creates a I think it's ammonia.
Actually, it's that smells permeate within the body. The body is loaded with toxic garbage.
Mm-hmm.
The smells permeate, and babies smell sweet. That's because they have no toxic load in them. Urine is stinky when you have got decades worth of ancient food in you, which is people have food in them that they ate when they're 7 years old. They're still carrying around parts of it. Mm. And once you clean, the first thing, this is a nice reward about this, is that the very first thing the body cleans out when you start drinking pure waters or your urine, same thing, is the blood highway system, because you can't move garbage out of the lands if it's full of potholes and boulders. So the first thing that gets clean is that highway, and it immediately, even if you still got a toxic load in you, the urine starts to become cleaner and clearer, and it becomes easier to drink very quickly. So this is a nice little gift to help you stay on and keep rolling with it.
Right. That actually answers Poundland's other question, which is overtly smelling urine symptomatic of illness? So.
Yes, it is as well, and it's also, from eating cooked food. I dare you, challenge you to find one single animal anywhere in nature that cooks their food. This is toxic, and this is cooking food before you eat it is identical to lighting gasoline on fire before you put it in the gas tank. You are burning the energy out of it. When food is living, it has energy and prana mana chi to give you. It has Wilhelm Reich's orgone energy, it has Tesla's radiant energy. When you see Kirlian photographs of food, Kirlian spelled Kirlian, you can see the purple, blue, white, snapping, lightning glow around living foods. And if you Google Kirlian foods cabbage, you'll see in an image, you'll see a piece of cabbage before it's been cooked with this beautiful aura around it, the electromagnetic glow. That's how those cameras work. They photograph the electromagnetic field, and they take that same piece of cabbage and they cook it, and they photograph it afterwards. And it looks like a black and white photo, but it's not. It's because there's no electromagnetic field there anymore, no more prana mana chi, light force. You vaporized it by cooking it. That was the energy that you actually wanted. That's what you're actually living on. You're actually living on prana coming down through your prana tube.
Right.
So when you burn it, it's also akin to burning wood before you put it on the fire. Mm-hmm. Hang on, let me burn it for, now I'm going to shovel some ashes on the fire. Well, it puts the fire out. And that's what's happening to humans. They're dying at 60 and 70 because they keep shoving ash on their throats.
Hmm. Wow. There's something else to do with the smell or taste of urine that you might not be aware of. A friend of mine, Miranda, has been drinking her own urine for about 9 months, and she's got used to the taste of her urine. And one morning, just before she was going to collect it, she was on the phone to somebody, and they had a massive argument, and it got very heated. And the phone was slammed down. She collected her urine and found it tasted disgusting.
Yes, as the wonderful medium Magenta Pixie wonderfully stated, that pure water is like a blank CD. And so, yeah, it got that impression.
Yeah. She actually wonders if the phrase "pissed off" comes from that effect. Do have another question from Kathy Tars, and it is: if it's normal and natural to drink distilled water, how come our recent and distant ancestors never drank it?
They did. That's what rainwater is. That's why people used to have cisterns. All living fruit juices are that. All precipitation, rain, mist, snow, dew, and fog. You can prove it to yourself right now. If any of you have an animal, put down a bowl of city tap water and put down a bowl of distilled water. The animals will always avoid the tap water if there is a choice. Animals do two things, and these are what you should follow with your diet. Animals only ever eat living foods raw, and they only ever drink the purest water that they can get access to. They will drink dew puddles if they can find it. They will drink puddles of fresh rain. And also on my website for the collected water knowledge, it's free. The membership dues is AquariusTheWaterBearer.com, spelled just like the constellation. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and it's time for the remembrance of the pure waters to come back, and that's exactly what's happening. And boy, do we need it more than ever. I've never witnessed such a sick society. On my website at AquariusTheWaterBearer.com, if you want to educate yourself to feel okay about distilled water versus Mercola's death statement, what I've done on there is there's one part called The Truth. You click on that and you'll see 24 doctors' quotes who had the courage to tell the truth and write books about distilled water. Doctor number 23 on that list, Dr. Handley, did studies on distilled water, and he made two charts. One was, and I think they're roughly from 1860 to 1960, 100-year chart. One was the rate of people moving into the cities and getting off of cisterns and getting onto city tap water. And the other chart, also from 1860 to 1960, was the rate of heart disease. The two charts are biometrically opposed. As people got off of rainwater, because they were living out in the country and had their own water collection systems, everybody knew that rain was the best source of water. The rate of heart disease goes up as people start getting on the city water, which is already loaded with garbage. It does not have room to pick up garbage. You want to send in water molecules that have empty backpacks. That way they can vacuum garbage out. If you send in water molecules that are already dragging garbage with them, they're going to leave it in your body. They don't mean to, but they're just already loaded down, and they definitely don't have room to vacuum out the garbage that's already in your body. So this is why the rate of heart disease went up.
You mentioned Dr. McCullough again. Jim UK basically asked the question, can you please give us a bit more info on Dr. McCullough? He says that he always thought that he was one of the good guys. He's donated over $1 million to help Proposition 37 to fight GMO.
Yes, Mercola, his main job is this is a classic scenario of an 80-20 bait and switch deception agent. They let him be good about some things. He's fantastic on fluoride and GMOs and vaccines. And they're like, ooh, Mercola's got the balls to stand out about this stuff. But his real job is to be the front man to keep people away from pure water. That's the 80-20. 80% truth, 20% steer you right in the wrong direction towards death's door. That title should actually call, my wife and I call this opposite land. Everything the mainstream is pushing, you should run in the opposite direction and you're much more likely to find the truth. That title should be called Long Life Comes from Drinking Distilled Water.
Sure. Poundland also asks, how many times can you regurgitate the same urine? I've got to say, from my point of view, I think indefinitely.
Exactly.
I did it for 30 days, and I could have gone for another 30 days. I absolutely am convinced it's indefinitely. Now, while we're still on distilled water, how do we go about getting distilled water? Are you suggesting buying it from the shops or something like that?
Yes, but let's talk a little bit more first about that person's question.
Okay.
When I tell people about these survival stories, then you can go forever on it. One of the first question always is, yeah, but won't you run out of water? Won't you dehydrate? Won't you sweat it all out? You're breathing out. But they forget that it's a two-way system. You're breathing in. Your skin breathes in also. Plus, you are a perfectly designed creature. This is truly where you could say that intelligent design exists in the human body. This is how you spend 40 days and nights in the desert. And also in the Bible, I think around John 37, there's this whole thing about, manna from heaven. That's exactly what this is. This is prana chi. It's called the water of life in the Bible because it's a flat-out description of it. And it's the water of life, meaning there's two separate things there. The of separates them. It's not the water that's doing it. It's the water. Well, it is doing the physical action of carrying away the garbage, but It's the water of life, because water is a conductor of life force. Water is an insulator from harmful energy. You can take an ohms meter and see this. All electricians know, and this will freak most people out, distilled water is the only water which will not conduct electricity. And what it turns out is it's not water that the electricity is arcing through, it's the particulate in the water. And you can get some well water, some middle of the road, carbon filtered water, and you can get some distilled water. An ohms meter measures resistance between the two electrodes when you stick it in the water. And electricians use this, a common electrician's tool, like $20, to test whether or not a line is hot so they don't get electrocuted. But you can stick it in water, and it'll measure the amount of ohms. Ohms is resistance to electricity, which is harmful to the human body. So the well water has a low ohms reading. Because there's lots of garbage in it, it's easy for the electricity to arc through the water between the two electrodes. You stick it in the carbon-filtered water. The ohms reading goes up to like a medium reading because there's less particulate in there and there's more ohms, and it has a harder time passing between the two electrodes. Now you stick it in the distilled water, and it goes up to a very high reading because it's distilled water is an attempt to make zero water. I mean, as in 0 parts per million. So there's almost, to the nth degree, there's 0 parts per million. So it's very hard for the water to pass between the two electrodes. When I was at my electrician friend's house and we did this experiment, I grabbed the two electrodes after it was in the distilled water and held them, and it jumped even higher than the distilled water. Then my friend grabbed the two electrodes, and we were at his house, and he has the carbon-filtered water. And the ohms meter jumped back down to around the carbon reading. So the type of water that he was drinking reflected the amount of conductivity to harmful electricity in his body. Now, what this is telling you is that you can produce the force field that you always fantasized about as a kid. This is a real thing. The more that you make your body pure and free of dead matter, the higher your ohms rating goes. This is resistance to harmful electricity. How useful is that in a time of scalar weaponry and HARP technology and Wi-Fi and cell phones and cell towers? You've got this right now, and you've got it by making your water pure.
Wow, I never even thought of that. How do we get distilled water while we're on that subject?
Right. At first, just so because you're not sure at first, you think maybe Dave and I are just blowing smoke at you. Generally, I tell people to go to Walmart, not because they make it the best. Distilled water is distilled water. It has to be distilled water because people use it in their machines. These stores would be getting sued left and right if they were actually selling fake distilled water, as in it had garbage in it. Dialysis patients, kidney patients, that's the only kind of water that runs through those machines. People's steam irons, they have to be run on distilled water. So Walmart tends to have it the cheapest, and it tends to spend, the main reason I tend to go there is it spends the least amount of time on the shelves because Walmart moves through the most of it, and it spends the least amount of time picking a plastic flavor. So go to Walmart first, and it tend to be 74 to 88 cents a gallon, and I just buy 30 gallons at a time. Well, I mean, I used to before I got my own home distiller. The next step. But bring it home 30 gallons, and just so you don't have to worry about it, just every day, okay, this is my water cartridge for the day. This gallon has to disappear. And just move through them. That's what my wife and I did in the beginning. And don't worry about the plastic. That's another big concern people have. They're like, oh, yeah, but aren't you getting estrogen and toxicity and BPAs and on and on? No. Yes, it is an inorganic container that water is sitting in. And yes, that is the type of stuff that it destroys and takes apart piece by piece. But just like any plastic or petroleum or dead particles that the water finds inside your body, it's going to magnetically latch onto them and will not let go until they are ejected out of your body. So yes, you might, a lot of it's good and you won't even really taste a plastic flavor. But if you do, Don't worry about it. That whatever plastic that water is picked up is magnetically locked to those water molecules, and it will not stay in you. It will run out of you. And especially when you create the river flowing through you, the gallon a day, all just like all the other garbage is going to pile out of your body. I know you also lost a lot of weight. So that's also just flat out physical evidence of sheer physical matter being trucked out of your body. That's how distilled water works, and you don't have to worry about the plastic. Now, once you decide it's real, and this is a basic timeline, when people start doing this gallon a day, within 3 days, you'll notice more energy than ever. And this is just constantly repeated to me in testimonials that I get. Within 3 days, you notice more energy than ever. Within 30 days, you'll know this information is right because the energy levels will have stayed the same. You'll be feeling better than ever. Your skin will be moist and have the nice dewy sheen to it. And so you'll keep doing it. And at 90 days out is when, over and over and over again, the things of a quote-unquote miraculous nature start to happen, like glasses being thrown away, hair starting to return back to original color, like you said, wrinkles popping out, and then, you won't ever fantasize. But at 90 days out, you won't ever fantasize that it's not real. At 90 days out, things of an undeniable nature happen, and then you can start, other people are going to start demanding to know what you've been doing. And which is much easier than what I went through. I was trying to tell people about it first when I didn't really have much evidence to show them besides the books. People look at you like you're crazy and an idiot, and oh no, that's not possible. They wouldn't possibly suppress the cure for cancer, on and on and on. When you start doing these fountain of youth type effects, which is we are literally revealing to you the actual location of the fountain of youth, which everybody comes with one water fountain on their body. That's the fountain, and that's why you see little boys peeing in fountains all over the planet, this common garden water sculpture. It is a hidden pictogram for the fountain of youth. That's why it's always a little boy or a little girl peeing, and it actually follows the exact same thing it did for 30 days. The boy is peeing into the fountain, you peed into a glass, and then the pump is drawing it back up into the sculpture, and it's peeing out again. It's going round and round and round and round in circles. And that's what you did for 30 days. And for anybody interested in firing up your Merkaba, Magenta Pixie has a fantastic little 5-minute video called Urine Therapy and Ascension, and she makes the correlation that urine follows the exact same path of the star tetrahedron toroidal donut-shaped torus field. It follows that exact same path, and like I said, water is a carrier of light. Yeah, this is like pulling the ripcord on a lawnmower. When you start cycling that water over and over and over again, it becomes pure and pure and pure, and it starts conducting more and more and more prana. And as she said, eventually it becomes activated urine, and you will permanently keep your Merkaba fired at a high rate. So after you decide that it's real, the next thing to do is to move on to getting a distiller. And there's a number of places on the internet to buy them. I do not sell them because people try to accuse me of talking about this because I'm a water distiller salesman. I purposely do not do that so I can remain biased. I highly encourage everybody out there, if you're looking for a way to make some money, start being your local water distiller distributor. And if you've got some aging symptoms, take a photograph before. Now, as you go through the de-aging process, you can actually have a photograph if you want to. You can go door to door and see people, like this is what I looked like 90 days ago, and now this is what I look now as you're standing there all shiny and bright and glowy. They will see, and it's amazing what effect it has on people when they see brand new hair growing on the top of somebody's bald spot. Just not supposed to happen. So some of the companies... there's a bunch of them. I've called quite a few of them and gotten them to offer people discounts if they mention my name or if they give an Andrew Norton quote. And I want to emphasize I have zero endorsement deals with these companies. I get no kickback. I'm doing it sheerly because I want my friggin' planet back from these paths. I want people to light up. I want people to remember the simple idea of cleaning the body from the inside out. We take showers and baths every day. Why rinse water down through the center of the body? So there is mypurewater.com, which is out of Lincoln, Nebraska. This is probably the best water distillation company that I know of in the world. It's an American-made company. They've been doing it for 40 years, and they produce high quality distillers. There is RockyMountainWaterDistillers.com. They are also an American-made company, also very high quality. A woman named Josette Fuller is selling the Mega Home distiller, which is a countertop model, which are good for 1 to 2 people. There's 2 types of distillers. There's manual fill and there's auto fill. And we at first bought a manual fill, which is, it looks like an overgrown blender, and you got to take the top off, you pour in a gallon, put the top back on, and 3.5 hours later, drip by drip, you get a brand new gallon of fresh water. Those are good for 1 or 2 people, but if you've got 3 people and kids, and you start realizing that it will double or triple the life of your pets, and they love drinking it, and people have a hard time getting their cats to drink water, your cats and dogs will start drinking more water than ever. This is common testimony, if you put distilled water down to them. So if you're in that situation where you're more than just 1 or 2 people, an auto-filled distiller is like a blessing from heaven. It's got a simple water line attached to it, like it runs to a refrigerator that's got a water and ice dispenser on it. It's just a little tiny plastic line. And the machine has sensors in it. Whenever the holding tank gets low, it fills itself back up. It turns itself on, and it's got a spigot on it. The distiller is up above, and there's a holding tank down below. And you can just constantly walk up to it and dispense pure water. None of this daily, 2 or 3 times a day, having to make your own water. It just does it for you. So Josette Fuller and I'll give you her website, she is selling them out of England. There's a lot of cheap ones on the market, a lot of cheap Chinese ones, these ones that look like an overgrown blender, these countertop models. It seems to be a very common testimonial that the Mega Home distiller is a very good quality. And it may be cheap made, I'm not sure, but it just, whatever, who's making it is making it well. It's got good wiring in it, well built, and they work really well. Josette Fuller's website is mama-penguin.co.uk, dash or hyphen, whatever you call it. So it's mama-penguin.co.uk. If you give her an Andrew Norton Weber quote, she'll give you next day air shipping, a discount, and a free TDS meter, total dissolved solids meter, which measures parts per million. Distilled water should come out at a 0, and that's a really great thing that she's doing, because you can test whether or not your water's working good. And it's a really fun thing to have on these things. It's about the size of a pen, and you can take it to different places. You can take it to your friend's house. If you go door to door trying to sell distillers, you go, let me show you your water. And you'll find tap water anywhere from 60 to 100 to 300 parts per million. And, you can show them that the distilled water is 0. So there's also Caroline Knight, who's also in the UK. And I know Mama Penguin, Josette Fuller, she sells them, she ships worldwide. Caroline Knight, who is the UK director of the National Health Federation, she's now selling distillers also, and she also sells the exact same Mega Home distiller. Her website is nightlifeorganic.com, and night is spelled like a knight in shining armor, a knight with a K. There is also a company out of South Africa, dewcatcher.co.za. This is, in a sense, a dehumidifier. It pulls in the dew, the moisture out of the air. It works differently from a distiller, but the result is still 0 parts per million water. And I just want to clarify, pure water, distilled water is not really a type of water. Any water that is pure, no matter what machine or method you use to make it pure, by default, a condition of being pure, it has that distilled quality. So it can be a dew catcher, it can be a solar still, it can be, there's communities that live on mountaintops, and they actually have these things called fog fences. They raise up these huge pieces of fabric between 2 poles, and the fabric is tilted to one side, and as the daily mountain fog rolls by, the mountain mist, the morning mist, it catches on the fabric and drips to one corner, and they have a constant free supply of distilled water. There's There's a great article on the website called "Dew Dams, Air Wells, and Fog Fences," something like that. And there's an ancient Byzantine town in the Ukraine that they found, the ruins of the town. On the hillsides around the town, they found 13 massive piles of stones, or where you could see the remains of the stone piles. And in the center bottom of every pile, which was slightly indented towards the center, they found 3-inch clay pipes leading towards the town below. And what they figured out these people were doing was these stone would cool down during the night, and as the day warmed back up, the warm air would, of course, the outer stones would warm back up to the outer air temperatures. But since it's a big pile of rocks, there's all these rocks on the inside that aren't getting hit by the sun, and they retain the cold temperature from the night before. So as the warm air of the day moves across, water starts condensing on the rocks, drip towards the middle bottom of the pile, down into the clay pipe, and they were piped into the wells and fountains down in the town. And so they estimated that these piles produced 500 to 1,000 gallons per day each pile. So there are all kinds of ways to produce pure water, which by default is distilled.
I was actually going to say that I've got an Ecolo Blue, which also takes water out of the air.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got one of those? I've seen those.
I've got one, and it's pretty cool. But as you've mentioned before, there's a lot of filters on there, and probably unnecessary, I think. But a lot of filters that need replacing. It's very expensive.
I'm guessing it's basically the filters are of a reverse osmosis type.
A reverse osmosis. There's a carbon one, and also there's an ultraviolet light as well.
And have you ever put a total dissolved solids meter to see what kind of parts per million reading you're getting?
I actually haven't. That's something I'm going to have a look at.
Okay, well, you can go on Amazon.com, and for $15 you can order one of these things. It's such a fabulous tool. You'll start testing everything.
I'll probably put just a multimeter on it, just as you say, with the and test resistance.
Yep.
I was going to say also that for anybody who's thinking about getting a distiller, I mean, the thing that you'll notice the first time you actually run a batch through is the gunk, the brown, disgusting gunk that's left after you've distilled off all the actual water. This is what's in your seemingly clear water. You only put a gallon or so into this tabletop distiller, but in that gallon of what looks like pure clean water is this thick gunk, and you're taking that in. So I'll just throw that in there.
Yeah, and that allows you to see that thick gunk is literally the stuff that becomes plaque in your veins. It becomes what forms cataracts. Eyes are just very sensitive, like cameras. They have lenses, really delicate lenses that open and close to focus at different distances. You're not supposed to get dirt and dust in your camera. If you do, the lens doesn't move as well. And that is exactly what's happening with people's eyes. It's just that there's little rocks and sand in between the lenses. And that's what that gunk is in the bottom of the distiller. That's what's in between people's bones causing arthritis. I also want to say on machines that reverse osmosis is the next closest thing. Whereas distilled usually comes in, if it's done right, at 0 parts per million. Reverse osmosis will generally come in around 2 to 4 parts per million. And this is another thing to add to the list where close enough is good enough, as in horseshoes and hand grenades. You can now include water purification systems in that, because that's 2 to 4 parts per million is breathtakingly fantastic compared to 300 per million. And I have a friend who has a reverse osmosis machine, and he gets 4 parts per million, and he's been doing the gallon a day, and he has been having the exact same fountain of youth type effects as everybody else has been. So reverse osmosis is great as well.
You also saying at one point about, and I can't remember what this stands for, VOCs, which... So how do they factor into things like reverse osmosis? And tell us what VOCs are as well, sorry.
Wonderful. VOCs are known as volatile organic compounds. And Dr. Mercola has another paper called something like "Why I Now Say No Only to Distilled Water," and to blatantly show you how much that he is an agent of deception. There's one of his sections in that paper trying to argue you away from distilled water, where he goes on and on about VOCs and how that when you distill water, that VOCs make it through the process and they actually concentrate these things. Things like chlorine are VOCs, and radon, I believe. And how that distilled water is terrible because it concentrates these things, because VOCs have a lower boiling point than water. And they actually start to lift up out of the water even before the water molecules do. So they do make it through. But where this exposes Mercola as a joke and a fraud, blatant fraud, because you can't make this stuff up by accident. You have to do this on purpose. VOCs are so well known in the distillation world that every distiller comes with a carbon filtration, because carbon catches VOC. The problem with high heat distillation is just that. It's high heat, and VOCs boil just a little bit below the temperature of water. Nature's hydrologic cycle doesn't need to worry about this, because nature uses low heat evaporation, the hydrologic cycle, as the water evaporates off the land and the sea. That is the purest, freshest water. That's why dew is one of the most fantastic precipitation sources. Rain is a little bit older on the hydrologic cycle. It's gone up. It's had some time to pick up stuff in the air. It's fallen down. It's had some time to pick up stuff in the air. But it's still really good compared to other things like spring water, mountain spring water, and lake water. It says it right in the name, mountain spring water. It's been running from a mountain. Mountains are made out of dirt, and so that water's going to be full of dirt. And that's why Pellegrino proudly lists 900 parts per million on the side of their thing, because this is spring water, which has been running through the ground, and that's what water picks up, dirt, when you run it through the ground. So it is a known fact in the distiller world, a known fact, that the problem with VOCs and high heat distillation, so much so that I challenge people right now, I challenge you to find a distiller anywhere on the market that does not have carbon filtration as part of the system. Even these little $160 to $200 countertop models, they have a little changeable carbon filter spout on the tip, where I told you the water drips out over a period of 3.5 hours. Mm-hmm. It first drips through this little 1 inch by 2 inch carbon filtration packet to catch the VOCs. And even the bigger autofill units have double carbon filtration. On the water line leading to it, there's a big 10-inch carbon filter, and then as it drips from the distiller to the holding tank below, it again drips through a package of carbon. Because this is a known fact that there are VOCs, and there's a problem with them in distillation, that they make it through, and you have to use carbon to catch them, okay? So Mercola's writing this paper pretending that he's an incredible expert on waters, and in particular on distilled waters. So to write a whole section about it, saying that that's the problem with distilled water and that it concentrates it, he never once mentions anywhere in that whole paragraph about the known fact, the known usage of carbon filters. That immediately exposes him as a liar and a fraud. It is impossible to study distillers and not know that everybody knows about VOCs and everybody makes sure carbon filters are part of it. So you can see him right there. If anybody thinks that he's a good guy, you can watch that guy lie right there in that part, pretending that nobody knows carbon filters.
Wow. Yeah. So is there anything else? Any other sort of benefits of distilled water? Because I would like to get back onto urinotherapy at some point. But yeah, any other benefits of distilled water there?
Well, we can talk about urine therapy because they're one and the same. I want people to know that on my website, if they read any urine therapy book and they just feel that urine, they deal with it for them, when you read the urine therapy testimonials, you can replace distilled water with the term urine in there, for the most part. There's certain little tricks you can do with urine that distilled water doesn't have, which we should just mention right now because it's so important everybody knows this and gets this stupid fear of snakes and spiders and scorpions out of their minds. Urine, so this will bring us back to urine therapy. It is a total joke that you have to worry about rattlesnakes or black mambas or coral snakes or getting bit by a scorpion or a black widow spider. The second any poison enters the human bloodstream, within moments, 5 seconds, the antidote is in your urine. And all you have to do is pee out into your hand and put just 10 drops under your tongue. One of the most basic things you can do on a daily basis with your urine is of your morning's pee, because it tends to have the most information in it because you've been asleep all night doing repair work. There's a lot of human growth hormone in it. But most importantly, there's antigens in it. Antigens are homeopathic-sized dots, infinitesimally small dots of whatever's wrong with you. If you've got the flu, there's little flu antigens in there. When you put them under your tongue, there's 2 lymph nodes under your tongue that are the guys that produce antibodies. When you put drops under there, they get to study the antigen, and they go, this is the guy that's bugging us. Now we know how to produce the right antibody. Bam, 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 and they start popping out the correct antibody. This is what vaccines mimic. Say the polio vaccine. They put dead polio cells in the vaccine. They're dead, and so they can't really harm you. But when they inject them in you, the body gets to study them without being infected by them because they're already dead. But they get to study the carcass of it. And that's, in a sense, this is even a better system. It's kind of what the vaccines are mimicking is what the antigens are. These are dots of information that tell you, your body, what's wrong with you. And if you do that every morning, it's akin to taking your car to a mechanic where they hook up your exhaust to a computer readout, and it kind of analyzes your exhaust and tells you what's wrong with you. This is a daily, and it's literally known as an auto-vaccination. You can do this every day. You don't have to swallow it. Just hold 10 drops under your tongue for 10 minutes. Forget about it. Go tie your shoes, put on your tie, whatever you're doing. Make your coffee, and you can even spit it out if you want to afterwards. But it will give your body a daily readout what's wrong with you. Okay, so now this ties back to a snake bite. You're walking along, and a rattlesnake latches onto your shin, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm miles away from a road or a car or obviously a hospital, and you think you're going to die. It's a total joke. All you got to do is pee out in your hand. The blood moves incredibly fast through the system. The liters handle, on average, 1,000 of the kidneys. Right? The kidneys go through 1,000 liters of fluid every 24 hours. If you ever had to take an MRI, they give you a shot of barium liquid because it reads up on the magnetic system. When you drink it, you can feel it tingles wherever you go. The second you drink it, you can't believe how fast you feel it race down your arms and legs. So probably within 3 to 5 seconds, the antidote is in your urine. But, screw it. Wait 15 seconds just to be sure. And then all you can do is pee out in your hand and hold it under your tongue. And you will not die from it at all. You won't even start to have the symptoms of it. I have my own testimony to this. My father and I are physically similar, and we both have 2 identical allergies. We are allergic to walnuts and wasps. When as a kid, I could eat walnuts, or I could eat banana bread or cookies, and if somebody didn't tell me it had walnuts in it, my father and I would both know 20 minutes later because our mouth would break out in canker sores. Now, just from the continued drinking of urine, I just started eating walnuts and said, screw it. And now I've got 3-pound bags in my house, and I love them now. I never used to be able to eat them. I never have any canker reactions again. Not only can you stop an allergic reaction in real time by putting some drops under your tongue, but by the repeated doing of that, you can permanently erase the allergy. All these kids that are just horrified of going near lunchrooms because of peanut and milk allergies and these gluten allergies, almost all of which are caused by fluoride, by the way. Fluoride dissolves the hydrogen bonds between your DNA. Those little ladder rungs of the double twisted helix shape, those are hydrogen bonds. And fluoride literally dissolves those, and your DNA literally unravels. So during the height, the way you can make a homeopathic formula of your urine when you are having a reaction, yet not only put it under your tongue, but take a drop of your urine and put it in 2 tablespoons of water or any clear liquor, vodka, gin, or whatever, and succuss it. That means to shake it vigorously 50 times. That makes sure that 1 drop of urine gets really diffused throughout those 2 tablespoons of liquid. Put it in a little dropper bottle and say 3 times a day for as many days as it takes to use up that bottle. Put 10 drops of it under your tongue. If you understand homeopathy, the tinier the amount of something, the more educational it is. And so you will 3 times a day be educating your body about, say, the walnut reaction. And so you can totally erase peanut and milk and gluten allergies. But coming back around to the snake, the same thing you can do. You just put these drops under your tongue, and the information is there, and your body will not respond. And with me, I'm deathly allergic to wasps. The walnuts are one kind of a small allergy. My dad still can't eat walnuts because he hasn't done this. But we both will die. We go into anaphylactic shock if we get stung by a wasp. And before I knew about this, I got stung by a wasp one time, and I started to get itchy. I started to get tingling sensations and red blotches. And I said to my friend, I think you better take me to the drugstore to get some Benadryl. So we're on the way to the drugstore, and my chest starts getting restricted. And I remember my dad telling me how he almost died once because his throat and lung chest started seizing up. And luckily he got to the emergency room quick enough. Well, I said to my friend, well, no, the drugstore, let's go to the emergency room. And we got there, and it looked like, a 5-hour wait if you had a broken finger or something. I went to the counter, told them my name, and I thought I was having anaphylactic shock from a wasp sting. They told me to sit down. I wasn't sitting but 5 to 7 seconds, because it is known that anaphylactic shock can take people over in a heartbeat, like 5 minutes. It can anywhere from 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. It can come on at different times, different lengths of time. So I wasn't sitting but 7 seconds before they called my name, and they immediately pulled me into a room and had me surrounded by 5 doctors and nurses. They put liquid Benadryl in one arm. They put liquid IV in the other arm. They put oxygen to my face, and they manually calmed me down. 2 years later, after I know about urine, I'm working in the same yard. I lift up a piece of wood and uncover an underground wasp nest. And sure enough, one zaps me right in the forearm. And I looked at it with horrified eyes, but at the same time I go, oh my gosh, there's my chance to see if all these testimonials I've read are true. And I waited 15 seconds. I peed into my hand, just dumped it into my mouth, and held it on my tongue. And my same friend was there who had driven me to the hospital before. And we sat at the kitchen table. I had the car keys in one hand, and I had my EpiPen in the other hand. Because after the last episode where I almost died, they gave me a prescription for an EpiPen, and I felt terrified about ever going out to the woods without my EpiPen, which you jam in your thigh, and it stops a reaction. So I had the EpiPen in one hand, car keys in the other, and I just sat there. And 10 minutes went by, 20, 30, 40. Absolutely nothing happened. Whereas last time I started to die, there was zero reaction on the part of my body. And I'm in South Carolina. We don't get very cold winters here, so there's a lot of biting insects. And I've been stung 2 more times since then by wasps. And I've done the exact same thing, and now I don't even worry about it. I've never done the homeopathic formula. I should have. And I even wondered the 3rd time if I actually had to do it, but I didn't feel like chancing it, so I did it anyways. And it's worked the same time. Well,
I can also vouch for this. I was at a festival with a friend of mine, Nolan, who has, I guess it's hay fever, serious hay fever. And when he arrived at this festival, he was starting to get symptoms. And I told him about putting urine under his tongue, and he didn't believe me. But later on, or I believe it was the next day, he apparently was feeling so bad that he he decided to do as I asked him, and he came up to me and told me that it's gone. He's not feeling it anymore. It's just it took away the symptoms almost immediately. So that was great. A great testimonial for it. And also the other thing about urine, when you put it on your skin, if you do have a bite or a sting, if you you collect some urine and rub it into the site, it will actually draw out the poison. It works for gnat bites, and everyone knows about jellyfish stings. But the thing is, it doesn't just draw out jellyfish poison; it draws out all poisons and all toxins.
All things deadly to the body are magnetically attracted to pure water.
Indeed.
And if you understand vibrations, and if you understand the universe is a hologram, and that every part contains the all, you can also, this is important to know for children that are having deadly allergic reactions, anybody else's pee that's in the vicinity will have the information of the child's reaction. You could, go around the corner, pee in a cup. If you got some juice to disguise it, just tell the kid to drink it. I've heard of these same testimonials. We're doing that for other people. Now, I would also tend to think that would also mean distilled water. If you had some distilled water, you could, it would pick up the vibrations of what's going on with the kid. I haven't seen a testimony about this, but it just appeals to my common sense and my understanding of vibrations in the holographic universe. I would, like Magenta Pixie said, pure water is a blank CD, so it's going to have the impression of that kid's reaction, because you can't ask a kid for their pee if you're out in a public setting. People think you're a pervert or something.
Yeah.
So let's. I really want to talk about what you've done and tell people how important this is. Now, I've read 1,000 testimonials or more, obviously now, and the survival testimonials are some of the most riveting because these are people that don't have the option of drinking any additional water. And I've never had a chance to talk to someone, and you have done something that is really going to project this knowledge into the stratosphere. By doing that voluntarily, by pretending that you had no food or water, you can't get in touch with any of these people that are in these books. A lot of them are written, 20, 30, 40 years ago, 10 years ago. A lot of times they only have a first name and an age. There's no contact information, so you can't ask people. Because that common question that people get is, yeah, but won't you run out of water over time? And you, by doing this, this is going to blow so many people's mind. I already knew this was true because I've read testimonies of people being stranded on islands for 4 months at a time. And all they had was their own water. And over again, the common theme in these testimonials is they vanquished all diseases, all health issues they had before they got shipwrecked are totally vanished. And when they are finally discovered, they aren't crawling on their hands and knees on their last gasping breath. They're in the best health of their life. They don't need glasses anymore. All their wrinkles are gone. Their gray hair is turned totally back to pure blonde or whatever color it was. And now you've gone and done it. And you're right here and now. You are right here in 2012. You had a number of health issues. They all got their butts kicked. And this is just going to be so amazing for you to be able to testify to this. And we're hoping to organize a talk at the Brick House in London coming up in late November. And we're really hoping that we can have you there to give your testimony publicly as well. I mean, you're doing it right now as well, too. Mm-hmm. But you... from talking to you, I learned that you purposely also tried to quell this concern about quote-unquote running out of water. I asked you, did your levels run low during the 30 days? And you said no, they absolutely didn't. They stayed constant. And you even spent a day doing fake physical labor, meaning you did some stuff you didn't have to do. You carried stuff across this yard, built a structure, took it back down, and carried it back across the yard, just so you would, do a lot of physical exertion to try to make yourself, run out of water. And as you testified, you not only didn't run out of water, but you actually hardly broke a sweat at all, and you had lots of energy doing it. This really, really is a beautiful gift to the awakening of humanity right now, to know that when they say that you can spend 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, this is what they're talking about. When they say that there's this mythical manna from heaven, the mana is the prana, the chi. It's the life force, the light that is conducted through the pure waters that keeps you alive. And it speaks to the real intelligent design of the human body. And that this system is totally real and totally fail-safe, and it will not leave you high and dry. This is why it's the water of life. It keeps you alive, and it's everybody's. Right now, everybody could stop consuming food and water if they wanted to, and just hop on the urine train, and just go forever.
Absolutely.
You've shown it, and you didn't feel bad towards the 30. You could have kept going. You went for 30 days and you stopped. It's obvious that you weren't starting to degrade at all. You were. How can it? This quashes so many questions. Isn't urine a waste product? Well, not only how can the baby float in urine, which is the amniotic fluid, for 9 months if it's toxic, how can not only you live on nothing but urine for 30 days, not only did you live on it, but the health issues you had were getting your butts kicked. Not only that, but you started to experience literal fountain of youth effects. Anybody's ever fantasized about the bullshit lost fountain of youth that Ponce de Leon was looking for? They want you to think it's lost, so you'll think it's somewhere, and there's only one place on the earth. It's in some valley somewhere, and only if you're lucky to find it. And whatever you fantasized about, if you ever did find it, about all these de-aging effects, that is exactly what happens, and you have proved this. You have shown it with your own voluntary actions, and I just can't thank you enough for doing that. It's such a gift to people, and there's so many people that are just going to be, their spines are going to be tingling with rippling energy to hear this fantastic piece of news. Even though it's in the book, it's in the urine therapy books, you see it over and over again when you buy urine therapy books. To have somebody here and now, live in 2012, that just did it and going out publicly, admitting to it and telling about it, oh my gosh, dude, you are going to inspire so many people. This is going to put so many people over the edge. I applaud you immensely.
Well, thanks very much. As I said, I only did it for an experiment to see if if we could indeed live on urine, because we have fears for a food crisis and a water shortage and stuff like that. So I thought, well, to dispel fears, I thought I'd give it a try. Having been on urine therapy for a year at the time, I knew that I wasn't eating as much, because my weight wasn't really going down, and because I kept my my regular eating habits, but my weight wasn't going up as it used to. So I knowing that your urine is essentially the product of your food, just the pure essence of the food that you eat, minus all the waste and the solid waste and stuff. I knew that you could live on it. So, Poundland just asked how much weight loss. I didn't actually measure or weigh myself before I started, because, as I said, it wasn't an exercise to lose weight. That was a secondary effect that I wasn't actually expecting. So what
you did in your video, I believe you lost 4 belt notches and even had to drill a new hole.
7 belt notches.
Kind of an indicator.
7 belt notches.
Wow.
Yeah, in 30 days. So I don't know how much actually that was, but before I started, my friends were calling me Pizza the Hut. So wow. they don't call me that these days, but they might do. I don't know. But at one point during the fast, I hadn't seen my girlfriend for a week, and she was shocked to see me just in a week, that I'd lost weight and my face had changed. So that was quite amazing. But yeah, so it was just to prove that we could survive on urine, and I proved that. And but along the way, some of the benefits, and I've gone through this before in earlier talks, but some of the benefits were that I fixed nerve damage in my foot, fixed the pain of a Achilles tendon operation. I got my limb flexibility back. I was able to get into the full lotus position. I haven't been able to do that since I was 16. As I said, I lost weight, 7 belt notches. My lungs regenerated. Now I was in the fire department in when I was in the States, and my last medical said that I had lungs of a 70-year-old. Because I'd been on asthma. I'd had asthma for 40 years or so, and I've been sort of spraying steroid stuff down me, and my lungs were shot. Now, about 4 days, it was only 4 days into the fast, I was on my usual walk, and I got the urge to run. So I started running, and I ran for half a mile at, pretty much my top speed, and I wasn't out of breath at the end, which is just unbelievable. So as I said, my wrinkles on my face started to smooth out, and my hair started to regrow. I was completely bald from sort of the middle of my hair, my head to pretty much all the way down the back. It was completely smooth. And I guess a few months into the urine therapy, I started noticing a kind of fuzz, kind of peach fuzz there. Just very fine stuff. And when I was like halfway through the urine therapy, the urine fast, sorry, it was undeniable. It was like it's still not fully there yet, but I noticed when I used to wash my face in the urine, I would kind of bend my head over, and I was able to see the bald patch in the mirror. But halfway through the urine fast, I was washing my face, and I noticed I couldn't see it anymore. As far as I tried sort of bowing my head as far as I could, and while still looking in the mirror, and I absolutely couldn't see it. So it's now I've just got I guess a thin. It's kind of slightly thinner than the rest of the hair, but it's definitely coming back, and I'm starting to notice at the front where my hairline's receded. There's that peach fuzz has started to appear. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Now the only thing about the fast was just going back to that point that somebody made about whether you dry up. I didn't dry up. My urine remained steady all the way through. There was a period where the last 6 days of the fast I was unable to collect my urine at all. So I had 3 days without anything. So at the end of the fast, I was very I've got to say not very, but quite dehydrated, just for missing 3 days of it. But
you probably need to explain why, so that doesn't throw people off and think that something was.
Yes, well, my free man on the land activities meant that I got arrested, and while in incarceration, I had 3 days that I wasn't able to collect any. So 3 days I just couldn't do anything.
Why weren't you able to collect it?
Well, in a police cell, there was no. I had no access to a loo, and I was chaperoned to when I went. So if I collected my urine in there, then I would have probably found myself in a mental hospital.
And did you also not have a cup?
Didn't have a cup or anything, so
I want to point out that that is why there is such a thing, I believe, as the Holy Grail. This is, I believe, that any vessel which you begin dipping into the fountain of youth is your Holy Grail. If you had to run for the woods in a survival situation or whatever, the first thing you need to make this easy to do is a cup, a Holy Grail. It would become very valuable too if you were stranded on an island and all of a sudden a cup washed ashore. Then, because men can they can roll upside down and pee straight into their mouth, but women would definitely have an even harder time doing this. So that it kind of illustrates the point that a grail is a very nice object to have.
Or if you're on a desert island, a holy coconut will probably do.
Yeah, yes, but some kind of thing to catch it with. Yes.
Yeah. So, the idea that you don't lose water in this continual recycling thing is, well, we live in a fractal universe. So the Earth is the next stage up, and the Earth has every drop of water that's ever been on this planet is still here. It's just
fantastic point.
Recycling.
Fantastic.
Just recycling all the way through, and this is and we're just the next level down. So we can just keep recycling this water through us. So you don't lose water. It stays constant. Even though I wasn't taking any water in, I was regularly urinating, and it was very. Apart from the very first one of the morning, which is always stronger than the others, the rest of them were clear and sparkling,
and easy to drink, right? And actually becomes pleasurable, enjoyable to drink.
Yes, well, I'm still a coward, so I developed a way of drinking it myself, just by kind of holding my breath while I'm drinking it. But one day, I couldn't. Well, I couldn't. Well, there was some reason why I didn't hold my breath, and I realised actually I didn't need to, because it was, it was kind of just like water with a hint of saline to it, and it didn't smell. It just, and all this time I'd been holding my breath and drinking it. I didn't have to, so it was very, very easy, and really, I mean, thing is. It's only your mind that's telling you that it might be disgusting. It's your conditioning over how many ever years that you've been around, that we've been conditioned to think it's waste and it's horrible. So you prepare yourself in that way that it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible, but it isn't. It really isn't. And there's a point that a friend of mine made that your stomach doesn't have taste buds. Okay. Your stomach only looks at the chemical content of what you're putting down there. So we're putting things in our mouth that are sweet tasting and taste delicious and everything, but we know that these things have nasty poisons and synthetic chemicals in there. So yes, it's appealing to our taste buds, but our stomachs and digestive systems are looking at it and thinking, "Oh God, what have I got here?" So we've been seduced by delicious flavors. I don't know if people realise that. I think it was Pepsi that were fined recently because they were caught putting human fetal cells in their drink, because it binds to the taste buds better, so it makes it addictive to you. That's the thing. They're cloaking these poisons so that you accept them easily, but they're still poisons. Coke and Pepsi, for instance, in India they use them as pesticide. So this is the. I think I've already said this, but in answer to that, the Chris on Facebook, you're quite happy to eat things like McDonald's that will eventually kill you, but you got to get round. Let's put it this way: you got to grow up really, and realize that not everything that's good for you is going to taste wonderful, to start with. So got to grow up. Sorry, carry on.
No, let's talk a little bit about alchemy. Urine therapy is alchemy, and alchemy is urine therapy. We're blowing open the secret of where the lost fountain of youth is, and we're going to blow open the secret of what alchemy is. You don't need to study in a castle tower for decades on end by a candlelight studying ancient manuscripts. When I tell you that it's the water of light, water of life, that water is a conductor of pure life force. Alchemy, whenever you see the AL sound or the AEL or the L sound in words, a lot of times it's a reference to light. And so chemical is the chemistry of light. Alchemy is light chemistry. And when you start cycling your urine over and over again, you start cycling pure light over and over again. Light chemistry, the chemistry of light. And one of the most common ancient alchemist symbols is the Ouroboros, or the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail. Everybody has been that snake eating its tail in the womb. For the first 3 months, it's mainly your mom's urine. For the remaining 6 months, it's mainly your urine. The fetus starts drinking the water, the amniotic fluid, which is urine, at 5 weeks old and does not stop. It is literally that pure water that becomes the body. Remember, you're made out of 80% water. There is no cap on the baby's fountain. There is a cap called the umbilical cord attached to the intestines, the belly button. This is also telling you that urine is not a waste product. Waste truly goes out other channels, like intestines, that's feces, and out breath and through your pores. The baby pees into the space and literally creates water, which is the water that breaks at birth. The baby drinks it over and over and over again, just like the little fountain of youth, little boy peeing into the fountain sculpture. This is the exact same thing. And the true original instructions for the human body are, once you come out of the womb, you get onto mom's distilled water, her milk, breast milk, and then once you come off of that, you should go back to what you did for the first 9 months of your life, which was you drank your own water in a constant loop. This is a perpetual motion machine. This is what you are, and you have the ability. This is what Dave proved. There was no ending to his water. He could just keep on rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. This is alchemy. This urine therapy and alchemy are two words for the exact same thing. This is the chemistry of cycling light through your body. All matter is condensed light. And you don't have to study alchemy anymore. There's another 80-20 deception book out called the Book of Aquarius, where some juvenile person that called himself anonymous put together all of these ancient alchemical quotes, and they're beautiful alchemical quotes from the 13th, 14th, 17th century. And when you understand that it's urine therapy and you read the quotes, you can see it. It's obvious. But because the powers that were knew that the water knowledge was arising and that the age of Aquarius is back and Aquarius is back, and they tried to put out a final, juvenile, desperate attempt to steer people away from urine therapy, because in the Book of Aquarius, this guy tries to pretend that this constant cycling of the urine, he reveals that urine is the primordial substance to create the mythical Philosopher's Stone. But he wants you to buy a lab and some little lab equipment and keep putting urine in it and keep it at a certain temperature, which for some reason he says is 98.6 degrees. And he wants you to keep evaporating urine and over again. Eventually you'll get this powder. It'll be black and then red and finally it'll become white. And he says, I haven't completed this myself yet, but I absolutely know this is it. I am revealing the secret of alchemy here. And he goes on to say, once you get it, then you can do all the magical things related with alchemy and Saint Germain and the ability to biolocate and to transmute lead into gold and all this garbage. Well, I use this little story to prove the giant hole in that. And the 80-20 bait switch of this is it's 80% truth. It's showing you these real alchemical things, and it's telling you that it's urine. But the 20% steer you off course is that it's something that you want to make outside your body, and it's the white powder that you can hold in your hand. Well, let's say you did do that, and that was the way it worked. And now you have your powder you can sprinkle some, and you can transport yourself to Mars, okay? Well, what if when you're exploring Mars, you drop your little satchel of white powder down a crevice? Oh, now you're powerless again. Oh, shoot. Now you got to get a lab and some electricity, and you got to spend, he says, it take 18 months to 3 years to make it. So now you're screwed. You're stranded on Mars because you dropped your philosopher's. Well, it's an absolute joke. And anybody that can see auras, they know that the true philosopher's stone is the third eye, the pineal gland, the philosopher's stone. The pineal gland in its natural state is covered with calcite crystals, stones, a philosopher's stone, the thinking center, the thinking stone, where you have intuitive thoughts, your satellite dish to God. Anybody that can see auras, when they look at somebody with a calcified pineal gland, there's a gray dot right in the middle of the forehead on that person. Just like where all Buddhist sculptures have a dot on the middle of the forehead. But people with a calcified pineal gland, which is why the fluoride's in the water, because it calcifies the pineal, goes to it like a magnet, they see a gray dot on their forehead. When anybody ever starts drinking the pure waters and they cycle urine over and over again, not through a lab setting outside their body, but through their inside their body, and it melts the pineal gland and it decalcifies it, and they have a crown chakra burst, and now they can see the light within, they can see a white light. Now that person, to the same person that can see auras, they have a golden glow around their head. That gray dot is the color of lead. This is the mythical turning of lead into gold. Who needs gold if you can have your true spiritual psychic powers back? This is a joke. The only kind of gold you'll get through that process is fool's gold.
It's funny because I did get that book, the Book of Aquarius, and quite a few of us got quite excited about it. And I hold my hand up. I actually got some of the lab equipment, but I never actually used it because I'd started urine therapy a while back before then, and the process that the book describes of continually distilling the urine and redistilling it over and over again, I realised that that was the exact process that the whole the human body was doing when you practice urine therapy. So I never actually ever did it. I've kept the lab equipment because I think I'm going to do a few more experiments. But yes, it dawned on me that perhaps the Book of Aquarius was an allegory for urine therapy. So I totally agree with you on that one.
And a total insult to Aquarius, the water bear.
Yeah. So you haven't actually done the fast yourself, I take.
Well, I haven't done what you've done. I wish I had the willpower. I've always dreamed of it because I want to see what it's like. I had thought about doing what you did. But I've done a couple of 5-day fasts, and I've done a 7-day fast where I drank all of my urine. But I did have water if I felt like it. But I just haven't had the willpower or the fortitude to take the time to do that. And so that's also why I so lovingly applaud you for it. I just love it that you did that to show us all, because I knew it was real. And I wish that I'd had the willpower to be the one to show myself. But hey, we're all in this together, and I love it that you just went ahead and said, I'm gonna show you how it's done.
So did you see any effects from your short fast?
Yeah, it was easier than you think, and again, it's during the first 3 days that it's hardest. And cooked foods, when you cook them, excitotoxins are created, and they have a molecular structure very similar to cocaine and heroin. Excitotoxins are a narcotic, and the reason it's so hard for people to get off cooked foods is because you're literally like a crack addict trying to deal with withdrawal symptoms. That's what that nagging feeling is when you stop eating, the body starts going into detox and withdrawal symptoms because you're used to this daily narcotic to quell the symptoms of withdrawal from the drug. And cooked foods are literally a drug. Excitotoxins are a narcotic. So I had those hunger pains the first 3 days, but then it became easy, and I actually helped my mother. I went up to her house in upstate New York, and I helped her move out of her house. I helped her move and have a garage sale. I helped her pack up things, and I lugged them back and forth to the garage and was just kind of working all day, and I had plenty of energy to do it. I felt a little bit weak in the knees, but I kind of just ignored it, and it wasn't like I was crawling on the ground, gasping for breath or anything. I had plenty of energy.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, but yes, I did the experiment one day. It was actually more than I mentioned to you earlier. I started off the day at 6 o'clock in the morning, which my neighbours didn't like very much, but I was out in the garden mowing lawns and moving stuff, and then as the day wore on, I was building a geodome. So it's lots and lots of pieces of wood, about 2 meters long, each one 2 meters long, and it was about about 140 pieces. So I had to lug each of these pieces out about 100 yards away onto a public green where I was going to set the thing up. Built the thing, crawled all over it, measuring it, and took it all down and brought it back into the house, which took me all day to do, and it was pretty much heavy going all day. And as I said before, I didn't really even break a sweat during the day, even though it was a hot day. And again, I had plenty of energy all the way through. So it's absolutely yes. It's not what you think. You're not going to sort of run out of energy and die slowly in a heap. It's a very powerful substance. And Phil UK has just posted in my. There was a report. I had a news agency come round and interview me, and they actually sold the story to the Sun of all places. I had no choice in the matter, but yes, it appeared in the Sun, and Phil's just posted that into the chat box.
So we got about 10 minutes left.
Yep, that's about it.
Okay, I want to tell people that we need their help. We want to banish the dark forces, the psychopaths from this planet. And each of you has the ability to light yourself up for real. You literally can draw light into this dark region. And monsters only operate in the dark. They're pansies when it comes to the light. There's no amount of darkness that can diminish a room full of light. But you bring one piece of light into a dark room and it changes the whole room. So even if they say roughly, if one person lights themselves up, you will offset 10,000 zombies. We need to pop the 100th monkey. And you all have the ability to do this. Draw light into yourself, whether it's on distilled water or urine. Go for it. And it won't, this is a selfish act that is selfless. This goes beyond just changing you. Dave is now radiating light around him that wasn't on this planet before. He's made his body more conductive to Tesla's radiant energy, to pranamana chi, to light force, life force. You can all do this. This is something, as my good friend said, this is something that everybody can do and nobody can stop you. It's called, you can have a crown chakra burst. And what that is people see a white in their head and they experience a feeling of bliss. And I've got numerous reports from people, whether it's on distilled water or urine, it happens. And it happens as soon as they decalcify the pineal gland. It's called your soul because soul is the word is the sound, it's not the spelling. Soul is the word, the sound that's used to describe a ball of light, which you each are. We are each a photon. We are each a ball of light. And this is why the Spanish word for the sun, a ball of light, is called soul. The Latin word for the sun is soul. The type of power that you get from the sun, ball of light, is called solar. The reason it's called your soul, and that the reason Descartes said that the pineal gland is the seat of the soul, is because you are a ball of light. And you have 3 eyeballs. The third eye is an actual eyeball. It has the characteristics of one. It's round, it's hollow, it's full of water, and it's got rods and cones in it for color reception, except that they're oriented differently. Right now, as you sit wherever you are and you look out towards the world with your 2 front eyeballs, those rods and cones are focusing outwards, and everybody from their own perspective is the center of the universe. Those rods and cones are looking at light from without. The rods and cones on your third eye are on the interior of the eyeball, focusing towards the center of the hollow space. And it's full of water. When it's calcified, it's full of stone, and you can't see in there. The rods and cones can't see any light. They can't see your soul. But when you uncalcify it and it becomes free-flowing water again, you see a ball of light. You see white light in your head. What is happening then is that your physical body is looking at your soul.
Wow.
This is called looking within. Means all the answers are within. Dave has even proved all the answers are in with his food, with his water going round and round. When you have the open pineal gland, all psychic powers that you've ever heard of or fantasized about are real and possible for everybody. Biolocation, telepathy, the ability to see auras. And the true state of the human is not just to be able to astral travel while you're asleep or meditating. The true state is to have all 3 eyes working at the same time. And when you have all 3 of them, this is what creates a 5th-dimensional creature. You've got all aspects functioning and overlapping at the same time. We all have this ability, and this is what is coming. This is what this water knowledge leads to and opens up. This is what alchemy has been hiding all these years under it's been taken away from the term urine therapy and has become called alchemy and made to be this thing that is super hard to figure out and super difficult and tricky, and you've got to study and study for decades to try to figure out how to make this philosopher's stone. It's within. It's within, and every single one of you can do this easily. Stop eating cooked foods. Eat as much raw foods as you can and drink the purest water you can. It's that simple. And stop taking in fluoride. And I also got to mention tea. The reason they're pushing green tea on everybody is because it collects more fluoride and aluminum from the air, soil, and water more than any other edible plant on the planet. This bullshit line about, it's got lots of antioxidants. Bullshit. All green plants, all living foods have tons of antioxidants. They're pushing green tea because it's massively loaded down with fluoride. And white tea is young green tea, and black tea is aged green tea. So white, green, and black tea are all the same tea, all the same plant. And drink other teas, drink herbal teas, drink yerba mate if you want, rosehip, hibiscus, chamomile, whatever. The green tea plant is deadly. It is so loaded with fluoride that 1 cup of it has roughly as much fluoride as 8 liters of fluoridated city tap water. The reason you feel calm and mellow after a cup of tea is because it sedates you. It numbs the brain. Fluoride is the main ingredient in Prozac and most antidepressants. Green tea and tea in general is an antidepressant, is fluoride bomb. So stay away from that stuff. Drink the purest water that you can get and eat raw foods. Unfreeze your pineal. Start to draw light into yourself and turn on your light bulb and vanquish the monsters. They cannot stop you from doing it, and you are with the light if you start to do this. This is supposed to happen now. It's the age of Aquarius, the water bearer, and the water knowledge is back, baby.
Wow. That's really good advice, really good. And I want to really thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and maybe you'd like to come back, because
sure.
I'm probably going to go on to another fast just to see what's going on, but definitely want to have you back at some point. Could you tell everybody your website again, please?
Yes, it's Andrew. Well, the water knowledge is AquariusTheWaterBearer.com, spelled just like the constellation. My personal website, where my art and sculptures can be seen, is AndrewNortonWeb.com. My email is contact@AndrewNortonWeber.com. And if you want to support this knowledge, my wife and I have spent $50,000 collecting this knowledge, and all of it, all of the money, every single dime of it, has come from her paintings, the sale of her paintings. And if you want to support this work, I suggest you do it in the form of buying a painting from her. Her name is Suzy Scarborough, and you put a .com on that. Suzy is spelled S-U-Z-Y. Scarborough, just like the fair, S-C-A-R-B-O-R-O-U-G-H.
Okay, well, thanks very much, and again, we'll have you on again at some point.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. You got a wonderful voice, and it's lovely to talk to you.
And the pleasure's all mine. So, okay, well, thanks very much, everybody, and that's it for tonight. And hopefully we'll catch up with you again next week. Until then, it's Allegedly Dave signing off.
Yeah.